Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Coody, and here's tonight's sports headlines. The number one overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, Trevor Lawrence, has signed his rookie contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The quarterback's 4-year deal is projected to be worth $36.8 million, including a $24.1 million signing bonus. And with that, the Clemson product is now set to attend the start of training camp coming up in 3 weeks. A couple of milestone victories at Wimbledon earlier today, including Novak Djokovic reaching his 50th Grand Slam quarterfinal, and Roger Federer becoming the oldest man to reach the Wimbledon quarterfinals in the Open era with his 105th career victory at the tournament. Federer will be 39 years and 337 days young on the final day of this year's event. Tonight is Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals, 7 o'clock on NBC. The Tampa Bay Lightning will look to claim the Stanley Cup tonight in Canada, while the Montreal Canadiens will look to avoid the sweep and force the series back to Tampa. In the NHL's 100-plus history, only one team has come back to win the Stanley Cup after falling behind 3-0 in the final. That was the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs. And a happy birthday to Johnny the Jet Rogers, Nebraska's first Heisman winner, celebrating his 70th birthday today on July 5th. And in case you missed it, the annual 4th of July event was back in front of spectators on Coney Island yesterday. Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest. And the winner, the defending world champion, Joey Chestnut, broke his own world record, eating 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. The 14th time he's won the event in the last 15 years, finishing off 26 more hot dogs than the second place finisher. And that's today's top headlines.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time.
Little chopper, right back to Schwellenbach, throws to first, in time. Huskers make it 9 in a row as they take game one. A terrific pitching performance on both sides for Nebraska. Povich, Buns, Schwellenbach combine on the shutout. Povich gets the win. Schwellenbach his 8th save, and Nebraska takes game one of this series, a final of 1-0.
Povich was as good as I've ever seen him today. The fastball had life to it. The changeup had a lot of late life to it as well. Looking the same out of the hand. He threw the curveball, the slider, and the cutter. I mean, he threw 5 different pitches today, all for strikes. Very competitive, looked like an ace, and we needed every bit of it today.
Sports Nightly is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office, who reminds you to buckle up and put the phone down. Here are your hosts, Greg Sharpe and Jessica Coody on the Huskers Radio Network.
Well, happy Monday, everyone. Welcome into Sports Nightly. Hope everyone had a safe and happy 4th of July. I'm Jessica Coody. Coming up on the show today, NIL remains a hot topic, some hot takes, over the weekend in regards to Nebraska and why it's one of the top programs in regards for NIL. And speaking of that, in case you missed it, we have the chat with Lexi's son that we did on Thursday. We've got that coming up for you. And how about Johnny Rogers celebrating his 70th birthday? We're going to have some fun with that as well. We'd love to get you involved. Shoot us a text or give us a call at 402-413-2400. Greg Sharpe is on vacation for the next couple of weeks, so we've got a guy you're probably a little bit familiar with if you've listened to sports radio here in Nebraska over the last 3 decades. Bill Dolman, a graduate of Nebraska. You've been on these Nebraska airwaves.
Yeah, a little bit. 3 decades makes it sound like a really long time, but actually I was on my way. I had to drop off a final project at Andrews Hall. And I cut and paste. I had my X-Acto knife. I couldn't find it, so I worked it out with my professors. So I was dropping it off, and they said, look, for a final project, go work with Jessica Coody for a couple of weeks, and then we'll finally give you your Nebraska degree so I can actually start my career.
Hey, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you because, I'm new here, too. I'm 2 days in, so I appreciate you coming in and helping sub in for Greg. How about 4th of July in Lincoln? You were here over the weekend. This is my first time. For 3 straight days, even today, I think they're still popping them off.
Yeah.
The fireworks were incredible around here.
Yeah, you said earlier, I hope people had a safe and fun 4th of July. We do know this. If you were in Lincoln, you did not get a good night's sleep because it was nonstop. From the time I drove into town, like 9 o'clock on the 3rd, the Oak Lake fireworks were going off. and Cornerstone Highway was packed, and downtown was packed, and I'm thinking, I got to get through downtown or I'm going to get stuck in a traffic jam. But the nonstop fireworks for the last 2 days have been unlike anything I've ever heard.
Yeah, same. I mean, I've never heard anything like it. It was nonstop from, I woke up at 9 a.m. about on Saturday morning, all throughout the day. And people's lighting them off where I just moved into, and then of course all throughout the night, and then yesterday, went off with a bang last night. So that was fun. I'm a big fan of fireworks, so got to see plenty of that, and I was told that it was pretty big in Lincoln. It did not disappoint.
This was the biggest that I think I can ever recall. It used to be back in the day, people would gather in Lincoln at Holmes Lake. That was the big one in Lincoln, and Rosenblatt Stadium in Omaha. That was the big one around the Royals baseball games. They had the Garucci fireworks that would go off, and they'd spend thousands. But Holmes Lake always had the big show here in Lincoln, and there was one year that it was all just built up, like this is going to be the show to end all shows. And something had happened during it, right at the start of it. They've got it coordinated to the music, where whatever mechanism they had to hold the fireworks fell over. And so while America the Beautiful is playing and Lee Greenwood is playing and God Bless the USA and all that, the dam or whatever it is over there on that far side at Holmes Lake caught on fire, and so the fire trucks were coming. So yeah, it was quite the show. Just wasn't what they had planned. But
hey, you a big fan of the hot dog eating contest?
I'm not really a big fan of that
either.
one. I had a friend of mine that worked that for ESPN one year, and he said it was a show.
Yeah.
It was gross.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly well put together production, and the guys that put that show together, not the Nathan's people, but the production company, they got it down to a T. Like, it is a major production, but it is one of the sickest things. And he said, you can't believe the smell.
Oh, I don't even want to imagine. 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes by Joey Chestnut. Everyone calling him the GOAT of hot dog eating. How many could you eat in 10 minutes?
2. Okay, so he throws down 76, and the second place guy is 50. At some point, you're realizing, you know what? I got a big lead here. I can probably coast to the finish line.
Oh, he's trying to break his record.
Well, I know, but at some point, do you really need another record, Joey? He's won like 14 titles in a row, and you got the other guy lapped.
Yeah.
So
it would be interesting to see what people thought who would win that hot dog eating contest with, some of the athletes here on campus.
But some of the people think the big guy is going to be the one to win it, but the big guy
eat pretty healthy around here.
Right? Yeah, I don't think Dave Ellis.
Dave
would
Ellis,
exactly
yeah, he probably would not be a fan of a hot dog eating contest. But have you been down to the training table?
Not lately.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
It's the best restaurant in town, though. I remember when they put it in, and if you wanted to get a good meal, oh man.
And you should see the spread that they're working on for these new facilities out here. It's going to be impressive. Dave is an awesome guy. Mm-hmm. So
best in the business by far.
Yeah, no doubt. So we mentioned, you spent a lot of time here. What's some of your favorite memories about covering Nebraska athletics? You got a favorite story?
I got a lot of favorite stories that I probably can't tell, but I'll go back even further than my career, though, in my days when I got to be a sports information student assistant working for Don Bryant, who was a legend in the sports information game, probably one of the 4 originators of the profession. So I got a chance to work for Don Bryant for several years, which was a thrill. But, part of that, part of those duties, one of the things that they would have me and another guy that I worked with from York, Ben Boyle, was a dear friend. We used to be able to drive Bob Devaney around town.
Wow.
Every now and then. Bob could drive himself, but nevertheless, it was like you might have to run an errand for Coach Devaney or pick him up at the airport. And I'm thinking, if my friends could see me now driving this Cadillac that says built especially for Bob Devaney on it. So that was pretty cool.
You didn't get any car accidents driving
Didn't get any car accidents. There was one time, and I will tell this story. In 1986, we're getting ready to play Florida State to kick off the season. And back then, you're only on a couple times a year. And so that season opening game was like the big game of the college football season because prime time on ABC and Keith Jackson's going to be here. Well, in the weeks leading up to the game or the days leading up to the game, there's a ticket scandal. The players had sold their tickets or whatever the case might have been. I think we can tell the story because it was 1986. So there's like 40 guys going to get suspended, not play. And ABC's like, oh, no, everybody's going to play. I had to go pick up Coach Devaney at the airport, at the Lincoln Airport, and so he was supposed to meet with, I believe Walter Byers was the president of the NCAA at the time, and so they're going to have this big confab about what's going on and what are we going to go do. So I pick up Coach Devaney, and he's a little bit late. His meeting's at 3, and it's like 3:10. And so Coach comes down the escalator, and I said, Coach, I'm Bill from the Sports Information Office. I'm here to give you a ride back for your meeting, and you've got to meet Walter Byers at 3 o'clock, and it's 3:10, so we need to get going. He goes, why don't you give me the keys, and I think I better drive this time. So Coach Devaney gets in, and we're going like 95 miles an hour down Cornhusker Highway, and I'm like flying. And this was like the greatest thing in the world. I think there's no way we're getting stopped, and if we do, we're getting a police escort back to the stadium. But
That's
I don't know
awesome.
what Bob said to him, but whatever had happened in that meeting room, everything was okay. We played, and I think we won that game. So
There you go.
that was one of my favorite moments. But there's so many great moments with great people here.
Do you have a favorite athlete that you covered while you were here?
Lots of them. But one of my favorite moments of all time, there's so many of those too. Jason Kelber was a 126-pound wrestler from Albion, Iowa. Walked on here at Nebraska, not good enough to wrestle for Iowa, not good enough to wrestle at Iowa State. Walks on here and emerges as one of the great 126-pound wrestlers in the country at that time. 1992, I think, was the year. And he goes back to Iowa and for the national championships, and is wrestling Terry Brands, who I think it's Terry or Tom is the head coach at Iowa now, and I think it was Terry Brands, and he wrestles him for the national championship at 126 pounds in Carver Hawkeye Arena, and the place is packed, 20,000 people, and the NCAA wrestling championships are one of the greatest shows you can go to, and there's Clubber and Brands, 1 and 2 in the country, and the kid who could only walk on at Nebraska, with about 50 fans of his from Albion, Iowa, watching, and the rest all Brands fans. And Clubber beat him 10-5, and it wasn't even that close.
Wow.
And it was stunning. It was just a great singular moment in that atmosphere. I remember many great volleyball matches at the Coliseum, Nebraska, Penn State in 1996 to go to the Final Four, and a 4-hour match, just amazing. But just so many great athletes and great stories here, in addition to what footballs and basketball and all those sports have done too.
So it had to be pretty nostalgic walking around here today.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you this though. I think you know this place better than I do. After you've been here for like 3 weeks, I'm driving around going, I don't know how to get to the stadium anymore. All the one-ways are going different directions now, but yeah.
It is cool in this new setup, though, that our studio is right here in the stadium. We're going to get to watch the progress. We talked about that last week, but on game day, this is going to be awesome. When the fans walk by on a pregame show, we're going to get to give us a wave, watch us from in here.
Yeah, it'll be good when it's early in the day and not late at night. I worked in Houston, and we had the wide open windows late at night, and oftentimes people were not on their best behavior when they walked past the windows. But that will certainly not be the case with Nebraska fans by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey, we got Mike Elliott in here. He'll be a good bodyguard. He'll be protecting the doors.
Yeah, exactly.
He's laughing over there.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to take a quick break. That's enough chit-chat for us, right? Well,
Okay,
let's
I'm done.
get to
Done
it.
for 2 weeks. That was it right there.
Oh, no, we got plenty of time for you to talk all those walks down memory lane. But we're going to have some fun coming up on the show today. We mentioned NIL. And Johnny Rogers got some fun things planned with that. So keep it here. First break here on Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody, and he's Bill Dolman. Keep it here.
Does it really matter where beef comes from? Meet the facts. Fact: Hy-Vee Choice Reserve beef comes from the Midwest, so you get only the highest quality beef raised on family farms here in the heartland. Where do the other guys get their beef? We're not sure either. Get the facts at meetthefacts.hyvee.com.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium may have been swapped for the ones in the backyard. And thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. The only thing that hasn't changed is us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Husker team spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit Cox.com/Huskers to take a selfie with Herbie. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
As the official bank of Husker Nation, FNBO invites you to take the game with you with the free Husker Visa debit card. Tied to your checking account, the Husker Visa debit card allows fans to show their Husker pride all year long. Get your free Husker Visa debit card today at any FNBO branch or visit fnbo.com/Huskers. FNBO, the official bank of Husker Nation. Member FDIC.
Back to Adventures in Technology. Oh no! Our IT hero is caught in the jagged jaws of ransomware attacks and phishing scams.
Help!
Wait! It's Marco's Network Security Solutions to the rescue with life-saving ways to detect hungry cybervillains and stop them cold in their tracks. With Marco's Network Security Solutions, our IT hero lives to surf another day. For more successful network security adventures, go to marconet.com.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly on this Monday evening, coming off the 4th of July holiday. Sports Nightly is brought to you by NDOT. Buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. I'm Jessica Coody, and Bill Dolman in for the next couple of weeks for Greg Sharpe, who is on vacation. And we talked a lot last week, at the end of last week, about NIL, name, image, and likeness. Of course, July 1st was the big date on that, allowing student athletes to capitalize and profit off of their name, image, and likeness. A long time coming. It's been talked about for a long time. What are your thoughts on it now that it's finally underway and finally here?
You know, I've kind of followed it pretty closely for the last couple of years as it's emerged. And as I have looked at the landscape from my vantage point, I live out in Colorado now, you don't hear anything about it. Maybe a little bit here and there, but trying to keep my eyes, my ears on Nebraska as I do, it has always seemed to me that Nebraska has been far and away ahead of the game in terms of when this is going to get implemented, not if, but when. I mean, it was just like the other day that the NCAA finally said, yeah, we're okay with it. It was like, well, Nebraska's been okay with it for over a year now. And I've said on other shows that it just seems to me that if you're a student athlete and you're wanting to take advantage of it, what better place to be than a place like Nebraska, and there aren't many places like it, in Oklahoma, maybe someplace in Alabama in the SEC, but certainly not all of them. But I know people have said, well, if you're in LA or you're in Miami or you're in New York, the major media centers, you're going to make bank. And I'm thinking, how is that possible? If you're, for example, one of the top prospects for the upcoming college baseball draft is a shortstop out of UCLA, right? How is that guy going to do when Corey Seager is the shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers? You know, if you're a big fish in Los Angeles, you're a major sports star. But if you're a big fish at Nebraska, people are going to know you.
Right.
And I just think a place like this is where it's really set up. And volleyball, to me, is the prime example of that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because it's so much bigger than just football when you're talking about these student athletes that are going to be able to, capitalize on that. And I've said that literally since I started here, just the support for women's sports and how, these female student athletes are really going to be able to capitalize on that as well. And that does not happen just anywhere in the country. Speaking of that, you talked about some of the big-time programs. So Mike Farrell, who is a national columnist for Rivals.com, he put out this graphic late on Friday night, and it really blew up, but he ranked the top programs for NIL. So number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Notre Dame. 3, Nebraska. 4, LSU. 5, Ohio State. 6, Clemson. 7, Texas. 8, Georgia. 9, Oklahoma. 10, USC. What do you think about that?
I think most of that's accurate. I question maybe the USC angle, although in California and Los Angeles, the USC alumni base is pretty prominent, and I'm sure that they will take care of their athletes in whatever way they can. But I think when you take a look at that, those are primarily college-type towns.
The Blue Bloods.
The Blue Bloods, exactly. But, in Alabama, those people who are Auburn fans are not going to exactly look at the gray area. There is no gray area between Alabama Crimson and Auburn, orange and blue. It's one or the other. So you've got a divided faction there. Like Michigan State, I think, to a certain extent. But, the Michigan athletes aren't far outside of Detroit. So I think you've got a big market with other interests in that regard. Texas, I find somewhat interesting too. I'm sure Texas alums and those will take care of their own, but Texas A&M is also going to, vie to help those athletes out the best. But I think when you're talking about embracing, helping student athletes, Nebraska is probably ahead of the game there.
Yeah. So, like I said, Nebraska coming in at number 3, and a lot of people, having something to say about that to Mike when he tweeted that out. So he put out a column on it, followed that up, and talked about the fact or fiction. And anyways, he said that he had Nebraska at number 3, and people kind of had responses on that, but they are misinformed. While many think the big cities will be the best for players trying to cash in on their name, I feel like it's going to be college towns that are essentially the professional football team for a football rabid state, and no one supports their team better than Nebraska fans. So Lincoln might not be a metropolis. Wow, what is that word?
Metropolitan.
Yeah.
Like the Fairbury metropolitan area.
Yeah, there you go. But just watches players who have success sell jerseys left and right and land local deals that will make them a lot of money. So, yeah, I mean, kind of what you hit on there a lot. Just that it's the show in town, which we've talked a lot about, but just the support here from top to bottom. If I'm a student athlete that's interested in that, that's where I'm coming here.
I think Lexi Sun, and you had her on last week, and as I've kind of looked at this, I'm thinking she is probably the epitome of the non-football athlete, the non-football headliner who is really going to be able to maximize this and lead a parade for volleyball and women's sports as to what the opportunities are for an athlete like her. And I think she was really smart because she had the opportunity to probably go overseas and make some money. And you can make good money playing professional sports in women's basketball or volleyball overseas in Italy. I have friends that have done that. But you're going to go over there and you're not going to have near the fan experience, the adulation, the enjoyment, and the opportunity to experience your sport in the way that she is. So I think she's smart in that regard, that she's going to have a great last season. 6 months is all it is. And then she can go to Italy and she can go to Portugal and she can go to Spain and make a ton of money over there. But to enjoy the experience and be embraced by Nebraska fans, and I think they love her.
Yeah,
and I think that that's just going to open the door for more people to go, look what Lexi did. And not just for volleyball, but in other sports where people love their Huskers, and they're going to see what she did and how much they embrace not only football and basketball, but all the sports. So I think she's a real pioneer, whether she knows it or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been studies done with Open Doors, and, she's kind of the number one athlete here at Nebraska that's set to profit off of that. And there are multiple volleyball players that are in that top tier of athletes that are going to be able to do that. And you mentioned the professional leagues. There's not any here in the States, and that are very lucrative, right? WNBA, I think I had the numbers on that. Like the average salary is like around $70,000. There's a high and a low, and the average is not as much as what you think about with men's sports, right? Same thing with the volleyball league, the soccer league. It's just there's not a lot of money to be made in a professional league. So a lot of times with these female athletes and these women that are in sports, they're at the height of their popularity, of being able to capitalize, make money when they're in college. There's you look at the Women's College World Series ratings that just happened. One of the highest ranked or rated productions that ESPN had put on. You look at what the volleyball does year in and year out. I mean, college athletics for women, that's about as the height of your popularity, unless you go to the Olympics, whatever it might be. So it's like if you're in college and you're able to capitalize on that, all for it. This is going to be huge for women in sports.
But I think, again, on the volleyball vein, if you're Jordan Larson, who's arguably the best women's volleyball player in the United States over the last decade, and I think this is going to be her third Olympics. I would bet if you asked Jordan Larson, the best experience she ever had playing volleyball was playing volleyball at Nebraska. Now she's gone on and she's had endorsements. She's played overseas. She's been taken care of reasonably okay. I'm not going to say well, but she's not getting probably Michael Phelps help when it comes to the Olympics and playing for the national team. But I would imagine volleyball has been a sport that has been good to her financially. But in terms of the experience, the best experience that she's probably ever had and will ever have in her career is playing at the University of Nebraska. And now for those athletes to be able to come and experience that in the sport that they've been playing for almost their entire lives, and now to be able to make a little bit of money, I'm not sure there is another volleyball entity in the world that is followed and is well known as Nebraska's volleyball. I think it is a global entity, believe it or not. Yeah. And so if you're a volleyball player and you think, I got to go make some money someplace, that place has 10,000 people in it every night.
Yeah. And they're not having, obviously have not had issues landing the top recruits in the country already, right? I mean, they just brought in the top recruiting class in the nation last year, the number one recruit in the nation. But you throw on top of that you're going to come here and compete for national titles, and then you got the sellout streak and the fans, the best atmosphere in the country, and then by the way, hey, you're going to be able to probably capitalize on your name, image, and likeness more than anywhere else in the country. I mean, to me, it's like now it's a slam dunk. Like it's if it was a little bit of a no-brainer, just maybe there was you're on that fine line, but now it's like an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think another thing that benefits the Nebraska student athlete over maybe some other places, and not all, but there's always that walk-on. There's always that guy at the end of the bench. There's always that young lady at the end of the bench that's kind of the fan favorite.
Yeah.
Who was the pitcher the Huskers this past year? Roach, with the mustache and all that. Endeared himself over the past 3 months to Nebraska baseball fans. He's not the best player on the team. Good, but not the best. But nevertheless, people attach themselves to the character. And maybe that guy who's overcome some odds or the gal who's overcome some odds. And all of a sudden there's the opportunity because people embrace, if you are the red and the scarlet and the cream, people are going to go, you know what? I'm with that guy. And I'm going to give that opportunity. You're down in Oklahoma. There are people like that have played for the Sooners in numerous sports that also people kind of attach themselves to that.
Wave the towel at the end of the bench and, get the crowd fired up. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm available for that, by the way. Yeah. So if anybody...
You got some eligibility left?
Yeah.
I looked up some numbers on this. Jordan Larson is one of the top paid volleyball players in the entire world. I looked up this article. I don't know how old it was, but she brought in $1 million for the club that she played in Turkey. I think she was like the second or third highest paid volleyball players in the world. And that was just for the contract that she had with her club in Turkey. So no telling with this year being an Olympic year with endorsements and whatnot, how much that will be added on to that. But that's not everybody that gets that opportunity. Right. And a lot of people do need to capitalize while they're in college.
In some of the Olympic sports, and I've been blessed to be able to work some Olympic sports over the years, and there are those that certainly, like a Michael Phelps, Simone Biles, Lindsey Vonn, that are doing really, really well for themselves. No question about it. And they're making money and they're making endorsement money and whatnot. But there are those that actually, I know Lindsey Vonn has a foundation that has helped some of her teammates.
It's awesome.
And there are those who have part-time jobs and they can barely make it, but they just continue to love their sport so much that they want to continue to do it. Yeah, it's great when you realize that some of these major superstars are actually reaching out to help out, people who still have a passion for the sport like they do, and so they give them some money to be able to compete and travel overseas, but that doesn't happen for everybody.
All right, we got to take another timeout. This is Sports Nightly. Again, get involved with the show. Give us a text. Give us a call, 402-413-2400. Alongside Bill Dolman, I'm Jessica Coody. Keep it here on Sports Nightly.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
If there's one thing that you can count on every spring, it's that we're going to have to deal with some hail. J-Tech Construction is the company to call to make it right again. J-Tech Construction specializes in siding, roofing, windows, and gutters, even solar. They're trained for insurance claims assistance, and they can help with your insurance company. Turn to the team the Huskers turn to, J-Tech Construction. Use your favorite search engine to find J-Tech Construction online and schedule a free estimate today.
Shop with confidence at Woodhouse Ford. Take advantage of our current offers and vast inventory selection with features you want at a smart price. Schedule a test drive today or shop online with our streamlined sales process. We make it easy to shop, finance, and purchase in person or online at woodhouseford.com. Choose your experience and find your next vehicle at Woodhouse Ford in Blair, Omaha, or Plattsmouth.
And welcome back to Sports Nightly. I am Jessica Coody alongside Bill Dolman, and we're talking all things NIL, name, image, and likeness. And I don't know if you've heard, but some of the things that Nebraska is doing is really impressive, partnering with the different colleges here at Nebraska, at the university, that, the lawyers, the people in the law school are going to help, them have their trademark and things like that, and then advertising and help them commercials, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to get hands-on experience, not just from an athlete perspective, but as these students here that are graduating, they're going to have really neat experiences before they graduate and go into the real world.
Oh, I think that's so important too. Oh my gosh. When you see, what was it, 2 years ago, Richard Burr was a senator out of North Carolina, proposed taxing, if college athletes are going to start to benefit from their college experience and athletic abilities, then we're going to tax them. Now, nothing came of that, but I still think that was just that first salvo that, we're going to see what happens if I put this out there. So I think college student athletes need to be prepared for, this is great. The money's going to come in. I'm going to do what I can, but, the government's going to want theirs, and they're going to be unscrupulous people that are still going to want to get involved in some way, shape, or another. And I think if the university partners with the athletic department and gets them that experience and helps them to be more savvy in those negotiations and conversations, that's a win-win. That may be the best thing that comes out of this, is in addition to the money in the pocket.
You graduated from the journalism school?
They let me through, yeah. Yeah, paid all my parking tickets, and they let me through.
I mean, how cool is that? If you're a student, or if you're a student here, and maybe you just love sports, whatever, but the chance to get involved in this from the ground floor and help some of these athletes develop and their brands and get involved with this.
Here's the thing that I'm hoping that there are people out there doing is making sure that social media is clean. That people are more responsible with it, because let's face it, there's probably a few college parties from back in the day that fortunately there were no cameras around back, when I was going to school here. But there's probably a lot of things that have been posted that those student athletes and anybody has to be a lot more responsible for what they put on. And I think that's a healthy thing. You're really starting to think about brand and your trademark and your image and the opportunities, and you just can't, make those kinds of mistakes anymore.
Yeah,
I think it's healthy.
Yeah, and there's a lot that's kind of going into it in the plan and the initiative. NIL Braska, if you're hashtagging on Twitter, Bill. It's NIL Braska.
NIL Braska. Nebraska.
So it's been in the works. It's been, like you talked about at the top of the show, talked about for years now. And Garrett Classy, the senior deputy AD here, he's the interim AD currently, has been in on this, trying to keep Nebraska at the forefront from the beginning. Lots of work that has gone in place with this. And he was on the show with us on Thursday and kind of breaking down anything and everything that Nebraska's doing here in regards to NIL.
Be able to give our student athletes the freedom to be able to monetize off their name, image, and likeness is pretty incredible. It's something that should have been done a long time ago, and we're excited to be able to assist them through this process.
What steps did you take before yesterday to get your students ready for this? Because I know that you knew this was coming. You were as prepared as anybody in the country for this. So take our audience through some of the things you did do to lay the groundwork.
Well, it really started over a year ago when we signed our expanded partnership with Open Doors. Blake and Adi, obviously, Husker Nation knows them as being former football players here. But having Open Doors right off campus and being able to work with them and partner with them to really help our student athletes, what they did was educate them on how to enhance their brand. They assessed all their social media accounts. The old days in college athletics, you would go into the compliance office the first day of your back for practice, and they would go through telling you what you shouldn't do on social media. Now it's changed. It's a 180. Now, through this assessment, they show you and educate you what you're supposed to do on social media and when you should post, when most people are viewing your profile. And so I think, everyone talks about the social media influencer side of name, image, and likeness. I think the best thing we did was we expanded that. It's not just about social media influencer. We partnered with the business school, Joe Petzik, who's the executive in residence of the entrepreneurship program. We're treating our student athletes like startups. We want them to be able to create their own businesses, and we're going to take them through the Clifton Strengths Finder so they know exactly what attributes they need and what they have to start their own business. The School of Business is going to offer some pop-up classes that's available to all students, not just student athletes, but it's going to teach financial literacy. It's going to have how to enhance your brand. And those classes are going to change every semester. And then the icing on the cake is that we have the best life skills program in the country. And having Keith Zimmer and his staff, Tom Lemke's been involved. They're going to be able to educate our student athletes, and they're going to go through mandatory training every year for the resources they need to be able to manage their name, image, and likeness.
Garrett, one question I've had from a lot of people is, if they get this money, does it go right to their pocket? Or is it held somewhere until they graduate? How does that work?
No, they can collect it, and that's why the education piece is so important, because now they're going to, if they haven't paid taxes before, they are now. And so they need to make sure they're prepared, because the last thing you want to do is sign some lucrative $10,000, $20,000 deal and not have the money to pay for it at the end of it. So we're so uniquely set up, and having alignment with campus, having, with Joe Petzik and the business school, having Keith Zimmer's program in life skills, we're so uniquely set up that's why our student athletes are going to be able to take advantage of it and do it the right way.
There's obviously been a lot of national media that have tweeted about what Nebraska has done, is doing, and that they have a chance to be a real winner in this deal. You talked about some of the things that you've done, but why do you believe that it's going to continue to be successful for Nebraska? Not just what you've already done, but moving forward as well.
Well, number one, the best fan base in America. The passion of our fans is incredible. You talked about an earlier segment, Jessica, about how we ran these campaigns to help our student athletes get more social media followers. Well, we're talking about kids that gain 1,000, 2,000 followers in a day. And that's money in their pocket, because there's formulas out there. Some are different. I've seen one that says a follower is worth 80 cents per post. That's real money. And so having the fan base is number one. Number two, being the premier brand in the state, not competing with professional teams. Our athletes are more marketable here. if you're a starting quarterback in a large metropolitan area, you're probably competing against the quarterback of the NFL team, the point guard for the NBA team, the goalie at the hockey team. I mean, we are so well positioned here because of the passion, our brand, our fan base, that our student athletes are going to be able to take care of at least the social media influencer and the advertising part of it.
I know you have young children, so you're getting to the age where when you go to bowl, you're going to have those rails that go up when you bowl. Are there going to be rails set up at some point in time? Are there right now that you're operating on this, that you can't go that far over here or this far over there?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about Jamie Vaughn in the compliance department, as well as Stacia Palzer and Jim Pottorff at University General Counsel. I mean, we made sure that that our student athletes are protected and the university is protected. You know, it's still a learning curve. Our policy is probably going to change quite a bit in the next few weeks, few months, few years, because there's so many unknowns. In college athletics, there aren't very many times where you're reinventing the wheel, and that's what we're doing here. But we have the right resources, the alignment with campus, and the right people involved that we're going to adapt and adjust, and we're going to continue to be leaders throughout this process.
And you talked about the fan support and, you know, just the people that follow the Huskers. What can local businesses, if they have questions about how they can get involved and maybe help, what advice would you give them?
Sure. I mean, the best advice is for them to sign up for Open Doors deals and partner with Open Doors. That's going to be the most efficient way to do it. If you have other questions, Jason Rathie and his staff over at Husker Athletic Partners can help answer. But, you know, businesses, we'd love for you to get involved. I mean, this is going to help our student athletes out immensely. It really helps our athletic department as well, too. If you think about it, it's going to help us in recruiting. So, you know, we want to attract talent here. We want to win national championships, and that's in our DNA. And so we're going to make sure that our student athletes continue to have opportunities to monetize their name, image, and likeness.
What can the folks do? Can the fans help out?
Absolutely. You know, do what you're doing. You know, show up, come to events, but most importantly, follow our student athletes on social media. Nick Burkhardt and our creative team, they have, if you go to the roster directory, you can go right on and click on your favorite Husker, and you can see their Instagram profile. You can see their Twitter profile on there. Follow them. It's important. And, you know, our fans already do so much, but we're going to ask just a little bit more. Follow these young men and women on social media.
And there's still going to be a lot of unknown, as we talked about. We might learn stuff, you know, new every day leading up. But for those that might be concerned that this might affect college athletics in a negative way, what would you say to that?
I don't think there's anything negative about it. I think there's a huge learning curve, but let's be honest. I mean, this is something that's been coming for a long time. And I know there's some detractors. There's people that think that, hey, it goes against amateurism. But at the end of the day, all this is doing is giving these student athletes the same rights that students on campus have always had. So we're really catching up with the times, and it's important. It's something that could change their life, and we're going to be in front of it, and we're going to help these student athletes do it.
You've been in college athletics a long time.
Mm-hmm. 25 plus years.
Anything come close to this kind of a shaking effect?
Nothing. And that's why this is one of the most transformational summers in college athletics history. And that's why it's important. You know, here at Nebraska, we have such a great foundation, such a great culture. But it just goes to show you, like any business in the world, if you don't adapt, you're a dinosaur. We have to adapt, we have to modernize, and we have to stay ahead of the times. And I think our fan base and our leadership knows this, is that's what makes Nebraska special, whether it's Husker Power, whether it's our nutrition department, whether it's Husker Vision. I think we're one of the first to have field turf. We're going to be out and, you know, being bold, being innovative is in our DNA.
Again, that was interim AD Garrett Classy talking all things NIL. Super impressive. Again, just the initiative that's in place here with the Huskers. When you were in college here, who would you have hoped would have signed you up for a deal?
Who would have signed me up for a deal?
Who would you have hoped? I'm not saying you would have, but if you had the chance.
When I was in school here, you'd certainly hope it would be Valentino's to supply you with pizza, and of course, being from the greater Fairbury metropolitan area, Fairbury brand hot dogs, I would think would have been a natural for a guy like me. But then, of course, there are a few other places that you could get your beverages, shall we say. For those college days, but that would have been nice. But the thing that impresses me about Garrett Classy, that as Nebraska has been focusing and talking about the new facility that's going up before our eyes, just off to the northeast of the stadium, I think underneath that has been getting ready for this moment. I mean, that project is, a year or two away from being completed, but Nebraska has been laying the groundwork for the NIL behind the scenes, I think, quite a bit to get ready for where college sports is right now. And again, I just don't think that there are many schools that were really paying a lot of attention. You don't hear about it, with other major institutions at all. And you've been around too. And I don't think anybody has been like shoulder to shoulder with Nebraska in this.
Well, no, and the way that they're pushing people to follow the athletes on social media and, let's make, this athlete the best and at this and follow them here and pushing them to follow them individually as well. That's not being done anywhere.
Right.
That's what's super impressive because, again, a lot of the social media following and the interactions go into that. And so you give Husker fans a challenge, and boy, they're meeting it head on. And the way that the numbers have really been driving up for these student athletes, the way it's been being promoted from the athletics department standpoint, and then the way that the Husker fans and Husker Nation have responded have been really impressive as well.
And I hope that that as we move further into the future, that the NCAA does away with some of these just arcane rules that are out there. There was a Vice Sports documentary a couple of months ago. Jeremy Bloom, who was a star at Colorado, star international skier, world champion, and he was at the center of a controversy with whether you can play football or whether you can get your endorsement money so you can compete in skiing. He did this documentary, which again, it kind of blows my mind that why isn't Colorado with Jeremy Bloom at the forefront of all this? But in that documentary, they talk about some of the really awful rules that the NCAA has utilized to be punitive against its own people. For example, cream cheese on bagels. That was an extra benefit that they chronicled. There's the tennis team at UMass a few years back got in trouble because somebody paid $252 to activate or deactivate a landline phone in an apartment. I mean, nobody uses a landline phone anymore, especially if you're a college student. And this girl didn't know anything about it. But the entire championship season was wiped off the books because of some NCAA rule. And you'd like to think, okay, we're beyond cream cheese now. We're beyond landline phones. We have volleyball players at Nebraska or at Oklahoma or at Wyoming who are making some pretty good money being a college student athlete. So we need to get these things off the books, okay?
And we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on all of this, all things NIL. Give us a call, shoot us a text at 402-413-2400. The Sports Nightly Hotline is brought to you by Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. All right, we got to step aside, but we're back to wrap up Hour 1 next.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. With a combination of strong academics and affordability, UNL offers an excellent educational value. This year, the university was named one of the Princeton Review's best value colleges. And the new Nebraska Promise and Career Scholarship programs are connecting more hardworking Huskers with financial help so they can pursue their dreams.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation. Buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Final segment here. It's a quick one before we head to hour 2, which we're going to talk a lot of different topics. We've talked a lot about NIL here in the first hour. It continues to be a big topic across all of college athletics. It's been fun to see even just the little deals, that whether it's with a fireworks stand or something like that, just anything of that, just a small tweet on your social media that you can get $150 or free food, whatever it might be, that adds up for student athletes that don't have the opportunity necessarily to go get a job, that 8 hours a day or whatnot,
It's crazy to think that social media is where it's at.
Yeah.
Because 30 years ago, that didn't exist for one thing. But when you listen to Garrett Classy talk about, being responsible with your social media and connecting with people, and that's worth $50 or $5 or $100 in their pocket, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. As opposed to going down and slinging runs for a little while and having people follow you there. But yeah, I think it's really cool that they're at the forefront of that with social media, which I am not good at all.
And how about Runza getting in on the action? How awesome is that? A lot of people, on a national stage talking about. That's a perfect example of, a regional company getting in and utilizing the student athletes here.
Now, did you know what a Runza was when you got here?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I've heard all about Runzas, yes.
All right. There are a lot of folks outside the borders, when you say, well, you can go get a Runza, what is that? Then you explain it to them, and it's like, I'm just telling you, that's what you need to get, but not everybody quite buys in like we all do here.
So, any other big takeaways from the Garrett Classy interview?
I just think it's really impressive that they've been working at it for so long and had the foresight, with all the stuff. When you're talking about doing a major construction project like Nebraska is going to go to do, to have somebody in the administration that's the point man for it, that's at the senior level, as opposed to saying, go to a department and say, okay, why don't you guys go get us a report and then come back to us and let us know what you think we should do. But to have somebody at that senior level while you've got the fundraising and all this other stuff going on so that you're ready for it on day one, that to me was really, really smart for Nebraska.
Final minute here in this first hour, and then we got a lot to talk about here in hour number 2. You feel good? You glad to be here in Lincoln with us?
It's great. I'm a little worried about getting back to where I'm staying because, again, I got lost just trying to come back down here. Years ago, I used to live straight down Vine Street, and when Coach Osborne hired me for the first time, I had to drive down Vine to go to the meeting, and it was easy. But now I'm lost, so I'm going to need you to help me get directions. But no, it's great to be back. It's wonderful to wander around the stadium and see everybody.
All right, coming up in hour 2, we talked about it's Johnny Rogers' 70th birthday. Heisman Trophy winner, first Heisman Trophy winner for Nebraska. We're going to have some fun with that. Plus, less than a week out from the Major League Baseball draft, where could Spencer Schwellenbach go? All that coming up here in hour number 2. You're listening to Sports Nightly with Bill Dolman and Jessica Coody.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. With a combination of strong academics and affordability, UNL offers an excellent educational value. This year, the university was named one of the Princeton Review's best value colleges. And the new Nebraska Promise and Career Scholarship programs are connecting more hardworking Huskers with financial help so they can pursue their dreams.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
everyone, I'm Jessica Coody, and here's tonight's sports headlines. The number one overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, Trevor Lawrence, has signed his rookie contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The quarterback's four-year deal is projected to be worth $36.8 million, including a $24.1 million signing bonus. And with that, the Clemson product is now set to attend the start of training camp coming up in 3 weeks. A couple of milestone victories at Wimbledon earlier today, including Novak Djokovic reaching his 50th Grand Slam quarterfinal and Roger Federer becoming the oldest man to reach the Wimbledon quarterfinals in the Open era with his 105th career victory at the tournament. Federer will be 39 years and 337 days young on the final day of the event. Tonight is Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Tampa Bay Lightning will look to claim the Stanley Cup tonight in Canada, while the Montreal Canadiens will look to avoid the sweep and force the series back to Tampa. In the NHL's 100-plus year history, only one team has come back to win the Stanley Cup after falling behind 3-0 in the final. That was the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs. Happy birthday to Johnny the Jet Rogers, Nebraska's first Heisman winner, celebrating his 70th birthday today on July 5th. And in case you missed it, the annual 4th of July event was back in front of spectators on Coney Island yesterday. Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest, and the winner, the defending world champion Joey Chestnut, broke his own world record, eating 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. The 14th time he's won the event in the last 15 years, finishing off 26 more hot dogs than the second place finisher. And that's today's top headlines.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time.
Little chopper, right back to Schwellenbach, throws to first, in time. Huskers make it 9 in a row as they take game one. A terrific pitching performance on both sides for Nebraska. Povich, Buns, Schwellenbach combine on the shutout. Povich gets the win. Schwellenbach is 8th save, and Nebraska takes game one of this series, a final of 1-0.
Povich was as good as I've ever seen him today. The fastball had life to it. The changeup had a lot of late life to it as well. Looking the same out of the hand. He threw the curveball, the slider, and the cutter. I mean, he threw 5 different pitches today, all for strikes. Very competitive, looked like an ace, and we needed every bit of it today.
Sports Nightly is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office, who reminds you to buckle up and put the phone down. Here are your hosts, Greg Sharpe and Jessica Coody, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back into Hour 2 of Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody, and if you're just tuning in, Greg Sharpe on vacation for a couple of weeks. So in for him is Bill Dolman, graduate here of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Spent a lot of time here covering all things sports here, so thanks for taking some time these next couple of weeks and helping us out.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, what else would I want to do than hang out with you for a couple of weeks here at the university and go back to reminisce of some of the days gone by.
Well, we were talking all things NIL in that first hour and want to get to our text line. Again, you guys can get involved anytime, 402-413-2400. Phone lines are open. Also shoot us a text. Got a few regarding NIL. So one person asked, can a company ask a prominent UNL athlete to come and speak at a company function and get a one-time lump sum of money? Yes, that's absolutely doable. Now, a lot of these things will have to be turned in and tracked. There are some rules to be followed. But, yes, you can hire a student athlete to come speak to your business, whatever that might be. And
talking about foresight, how about Blake Lawrence and those guys at Open Doors?
Yes.
I mean, they talk about being ahead of the game,
right?
And getting a good, I'm sure that they're going to run into some the bumpers along the way and some potholes, and they're going to have to tweak, their business model because this is new for everybody. But boy, they had the right idea in mind to get ahead of the game, and then to partner with a place that they would probably embrace the concept of NIL and somebody helping out. I mean, that was a stroke of genius and is going to be beneficial for all parties involved. And again, there's going to be some issues. We all know that.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to tweak it, but it's going to be a whole lot better than it could have been.
No doubt. And I think, so for that, Open Doors is the best way to get involved with that. The university cannot set that up. That is a rule where, cannot help you, work out the details of that, be in the middle of that. But if you go through Open Doors, there's all kinds of information there, how you can get involved, how to hire these student athletes, whatever it might be. We're also seeing some camps being announced, which I think is really awesome too. You know, I'm from a small town in Oklahoma, and, you know, if we had a prominent athlete that was, you know, when I was growing up or whatever, wanted to come back and host a camp, you better believe I'd be one of the first ones signing up. What a neat opportunity for, you know, these athletes to give back to their hometowns, but also for these young kids to come and learn from them.
And now those athletes, when they teach the kids how to dribble and how to tackle and how to do all of these things in those sports, now they need to have a little session on how to do your social media so that when you get that college scholarship, that you'll be able to make some money too and not make any mistakes along the way. So that's all part of camp rules now.
And we got another text from Andrew, and he said, welcome to Nebraska. Love hearing Sports Nightly. Thank you, Andrew, for that text. And we had one more talking about following these athletes on social media if they feel uncomfortable about it. And I don't think so. I think a lot of times, you know, they're talking about their teams and what's coming up. I mean, look at the opportunities now you're seeing from Ben Stilley, for example, just tweeted out today that he's got a camp coming up.
Right.
So
yeah,
I think it's all right.
And I think most student athletes are pretty responsible. I mean, you're not going to get where you are by making a lot of missteps along the way. So I think most of them have a pretty good idea. And I've said this, you know, they've got to be responsible. I think most of them probably are, because they do represent their team. They do represent their coaches. They do represent their university. That if they're going to go to social media, that they are going to think twice before they put something out there that should not be out there. My rule is always the J.J. Watt rule. Nothing to do with J.J. Watt other than he wears 99. So if I've got a tweet I'm going to send out, I look at it 99 times, and then I usually erase it because I don't want to get in trouble for anything. But I think that most of those athletes understand that they have to be responsible in that regard too.
I do think that's, you know, you look at a lot of the most popular athletes in the world right now. A lot of them are really active on social media, and it's not all, you know, talking personal. It could just be just their interaction. You know, you think about just the closeness of being able to interact with these athletes that you didn't have that opportunity before.
But I hope, as exciting as this is, that they do remember what the purpose is, that they still have, you still got to, you know, concentrate on your academics. You still got to work on your game. You still got to be responsible to your team and let that all develop.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm glad this is happening in the summer and that they didn't just flip the switch on September 1 or October 1, right in the middle of football or right as the start of basketball season. You know, so these athletes that have the schools that are embracing it, you know, are getting a head start at a slow period in the schedule so that when the season does begin, all right, that's taken care of, and let's put that aside.
Look, and I keep saying this too, they're still competitors. They still want to come and win. It's not all about just making money and, you know, growing your social media account. It is still at the end of the day about coming to compete for titles. Like, because that's, if you're not a competitor and you don't want to win, you're not playing sports, right? I mean, I just don't think it's going to be that big of an issue when it comes to these athletes, because at the end of the day, they want to compete, and they want to compete at a high level.
And if they don't, it's all going to go away pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
So we appreciate those texts. Keep them coming. Again, 402-413-2400. The Sports Nightly Hotline is brought to you by Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. Let's take a quick break here, early quick break, because we got some things we want to get to. We had talked about having some fun with Johnny Rogers celebrating his birthday. So let's get back. Let's take a quick break and get back into that and have some fun with that.
Absolutely. And fans have got to chime in on that, too. I mean, people have Johnny Rogers memories and want to talk. Come on.
Yes. Okay, so get on the phone line, shoot us your text, get ready, because we're going to have some fun. Keep it here. You're listening to Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody, and he's Bill Dolman.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium may have been swapped for the ones in the backyard, and thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. The only thing that hasn't changed is us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Husker team spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit Cox.com/Huskers to take a selfie with Herbie. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
As the official bank of Husker Nation, FNBO invites you to take the game with you with the free Husker Visa debit card. Tied to your checking account, the Husker Visa debit card allows fans to show their Husker pride all year long. Get your free Husker Visa debit card today at any FNBO branch or visit fnbo.com/Huskers. FNBO, the official bank of Husker Nation. Member FDIC.
Back to Adventures in Technology. Oh no! Our IT hero is caught in the jagged jaws of ransomware attacks and phishing scams.
Help!
Wait! It's Marco's Network Security Solutions to the rescue with life-saving ways to detect hungry cybervillains and stop them cold in their tracks. With Marco's Network Security Solutions, our IT hero lives to surf another day. For more successful network security adventures, go to marconet.com.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue! SOS, SOS.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly, presented by the Nebraska Department of Transportation, reminding you to buckle up and put the phone down. A reminder from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Alongside Bill Dolman, I'm Jessica Coody, and we mentioned it in the headlines. Johnny the Jet Rogers turning 70 years old today. The first Nebraska player to win the Heisman back in 1972. He helped lead the Huskers to 2 national titles in 70 and 71. Also the first receiver to win the Heisman, a Nebraska kid as well. I've come to find that those are really well liked around here.
Omaha Tech, the pride of Omaha Tech.
Nebraska kids that played, that are from the state of Nebraska that are playing at Nebraska.
And I think Johnny had the chance to go. I'm sure he did. And I it was not that long ago that I heard the story that it was pretty close to, and I don't remember where he was going to go, maybe Kansas or something. But yeah, he almost went maybe it was UCLA or USC. I bet it was I bet he saw LA and thought, you know what? I might head that way. But, you know,
I think it was a good choice that he decided to come here.
Stuck around and has been a one-of-a-kind original Husker football legend for many, 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 many years.
I believe, Mike, we got that audio of the punt return from the game of the century. Roll the tape.
Gets high. It holds up there. Rodgers takes the ball at the 30. He's hit and got away. Back upfield to the 35, to the 40. He's to the 45. He's to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 20, to the 10. He's all the way home. Holy moly. Man, woman, and child did that. Put him in the aisles. Johnny the Jet Rodgers just tore them loose from their shoes.
That is an awesome call.
It's one of the most iconic college football radio calls of all time. Not just in Husker lore, but in any. It is included in any historical, anthology of college football. That's it. The game is the greatest game ever.
Mm-hmm.
But that call from that game, you know what it reminds me of? As a kid growing up in Nebraska, when you watch the movie Rudy and you see Sean Astin give the Newt Rockne speech in the locker room, and Charles Dutton looks up at him, because he does it word for word. Kids growing up in Nebraska could probably recite Lyle Bremser's call word for word, just like Rudy did in that Notre Dame locker room.
I watched a video of Johnny breaking down that punt return, and he could call it word for word. He had all of it down, word for word, matching up with the call.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome him talking about it. He said, he never was going to fair catch. And, he said he probably maybe it was kicked high enough that he could have fair caught it, but he said, I'm not going to do that. If I had a chance to catch it, then it's going to be on like butter popcorn is what he said. So just the way that he was weaving in and out, and the way that game ended up playing out, and how cool is it that 50-year anniversary of it, going to get to revisit that rivalry this year.
Yeah, and in Norman. But, Johnny was such a great player. And when you look back at the video of plays like that and some of the other highlights, it's not the only play that he had in his career, but you look back and you see his style of running, and as physical as he was, he really was the kind of player that, even though he played in the late 60s and early 70s, could probably still be a superstar in today's college football game. I mean, he was that good, and there aren't very many players, I think, that you can say that about him. But, man, he is so synonymous with Nebraska football for 50 years now.
You think Scott would be recruiting him now?
Absolutely. You might want him to play now,
So who would be on that list of players that you would want to sign up now?
That could play?
Yeah.
Huskers or just in general? Because, I think like a guy like a Herschel Walker could probably, suit up. Bo Jackson, arguably the greatest college athlete of all time, I think would be one that his game from the early 80s would translate and play well today, There's probably a few quarterbacks out there, maybe a Dan Marino, that could play today.
So which Husker from, that era would you want to bring back besides Johnny?
Oh, my goodness, from back in the day. I'd love to see Rich Glover play again, just because he was on that same team with Johnny. Maybe he was overshadowed by Johnny just because Johnny won the Heisman, and Rich was like third in the Heisman Trophy balloting in 1972. Those guys would be great. Boy, who back in the day? Broderick Thomas was after Johnny by a few years. Broderick was pretty good. Rush end, defensive end. Man, I think people would probably like to relive the days of Dave Humm and Vince Ferragamo slinging it around as quarterbacks at Nebraska, thinking, did we actually do that? Did we really do that back in the day? I know there were a couple of years with Zach Taylor and Sam Keller, and they threw it earlier in this century, but it'd be kind of fun to go back and see Dave Humm was the greatest holder in NFL history, being a quarterback at Nebraska again.
Let's if you're listening, let us know, who would you like to bring back from that era, the Johnny Rodgers era, to play on this football team now. 402-413-2400. Give us a call. Shoot us a text. Love to hear your response on that.
Or if you had a chance to see Johnny back in the day play, it might be somebody, might be a little gray in the beard, but, that saw him play in the early 70s and how great he was. My first personal run-in with Johnny Rodgers, he would never, ever remember this, but I was probably 6 at the time. And I'm sure they did this in Oklahoma where the senior class of football stars got done playing, and then to make a little bit of money, they'd go play these charity basketball games, or they'd, pocket the money, whatever they did, but they'd go to small towns in Oklahoma. Around here, they do it in Nebraska. And Johnny and the 71 or 72 seniors played in Beatrice, which you'll get to know. Beatrice is a suburb of Fairbury, the greater metropolitan area that I'm from. And so my mom took me up to watch the Nebraska football seniors play, and Johnny Rogers was there, and he had this really long, I don't think it was a mink coat, but it was a really long coat that really struck out, and he stayed around. He didn't sign autographs very long. It was kind of a show and go for Johnny. I think I got a Johnny R. That was my autograph, was Johnny R. That was it, out the door. But I got a Johnny Rogers autograph when I was 6.
That's awesome. So what are your thoughts on the 11 a.m. kickoff?
For that game? If you look back, Fox has put some of their marquee games on at that time. So I don't think it's entirely unusual. I know that people wanted to be slighted by it, but you've been around the Texas-Oklahoma game for the last several years, and that game's kicked off in Dallas early in the day. I think that's just their model.
Yeah, I still think there's a lot of excitement surrounding the rematch and bringing that, rivalry back, and a lot of people reminiscing about the game of the century and all the players that were involved in that, all the characters. Think about all the characters on both sides that were involved in that game. So it'll be fun leading up to that one to get some of the former players involved and going back and hearing some of those stories.
It's fun to read as a Nebraskan to go back in time and view the Oklahoma perspective on that particular game, not the games that have been played subsequent to that, but having been around and kind of studied it a little bit. I remember reading an article, I think it was in the Tulsa World about 20 years ago when it was, they were looking back on that game, and Joe Wiley was very, prominent in that call that we just heard. He's the punter. And I think he was an offensive player too. And of course, the long-standing debate that was John Harrison clipped by Joe Blaha. And I'm sure down in Oklahoma they think the flag should have been flying, and we up here think, oh no, that was a clean hit. But they've both been good-spirited about it in that Tulsa World article. That it was a great game to be a part of. It was a great rivalry to be a part of. Johnny Rogers made me famous because I punted the ball to him. I think that's really neat, and that was what was so great growing up with the Nebraska-Oklahoma rivalry, was that it really was, I think, a pretty healthy rivalry. And I think people in Nebraska genuinely loved to hate Oklahoma and hated to love Oklahoma. And I get the feeling that that's probably the same spirit down there.
Yeah, I just left Oklahoma, and there's a respect factor there that, even though it was heated, certainly Oklahoma understands the tradition and history here and is respectful of that and appreciates that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, we were talking the Blue Bloods earlier, those fan bases appreciate tradition and history and appreciate that, the schools that have done it for a long time and that have been able to keep up that history and tradition.
Yeah. And you don't see that everywhere in rivalries. The Michigan-Ohio State game, I think there's probably a lot more animosity to that one than there was when Nebraska and Oklahoma was in its heyday. I've seen the BYU-Utah rivalry up close, and that is really unhealthy. Surprisingly, it doesn't get near the attention of Ohio State and Michigan, but there are some definite lines with that rivalry. I think UCLA and USC are like, oh, are we playing today? Okay. I'm not exactly sure that that's all that heated, but I really enjoyed looking back growing up with that rivalry, and I hated it when Oklahoma won 5 in a row, and I'm sure Oklahoma hated it when Nebraska won 5 in a row, but it'll be nice when that game kicks off in September.
I did think it was funny. So I went to the College World Series for the first time in Omaha, of course, Texas. The game that I went to was Texas, and the crowd, there was the fan bases there, but the people that were there from Nebraska were cheering against Texas.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I think it's probably more good-natured than, maybe they don't like him. I don't know. I just always kind of thought that was, we just don't like you because, you know.
Yeah, it was Mississippi State and Texas, and so the maroon and white chants, so they were ringing throughout. Everybody was all in because Texas would be like the Texas fight. And I was trying to tell people that, usually, when I've seen it done, it's you say Texas sucks, but it was maroon and white. So when Texas had the Texas fight going, literally the rest of the stadium was going maroon and white.
Yeah.
I ran into some Nebraska people that were saying, yeah, we still cheer against Texas around here.
Yeah, that was not, there were some times politically where, they weren't on the same sides of the political fights in the Big 12. And I think whether people have, fully embraced and moved on to the Big 10 even after 10 years and still thinking of the days of the Big 8 and the Big 12, had Nebraska and Oklahoma been playing every year in the Big 12, I'm not sure that Nebraska ever would have left, or I think it would had been a lot tougher to leave the Big 12 had they had to leave the Oklahoma-Nebraska rivalry behind, because it was just fun, It was fun. It was not fun to lose, but it was fun to be a part of. And I think I told you one of the big moments about that rivalry where it really kind of solidified the love to hate and hated to love was when Bob Devaney was doing his Friday night prediction show, which he got to do. I think he was the athletic director. And it was on Channel 10. It was with Dick Janda, the longtime Lincoln sportscaster. And it's 10:30 on a Friday night before the big game, and the loser of the game the next day was going to go to the Sun Bowl. So this might have been about 1980. And they're doing the show, and Barry Switzer walks in live while the show's going on, and he brings Coach Devaney a bag of tacos and, wishes him well in El Paso. And Bob's like, Barry. And I'm sure they were going to the Legion Club afterward anyway. But that live shot walk-on is, legendary Nebraska television, and just was really kind of indicative. Gosh, these guys are really fun to play, I think on both sides.
Just got a text on the text line, Navy-Army, best rivalry in college football.
Certainly with the pageantry and the meaning behind it, you can't fight that. I mean, who's going to argue with that, right?
I'm not.
Yeah. I salute that opinion, absolutely.
That was fun. Fun discussion. Okay, another quick break here on Nightly, but keep those texts rolling in. We love to hear from you. And we're going to talk a little Major League Baseball draft coming up. Spencer Schwellenbach should be a guy that goes pretty high coming up in about, 6 days. So keep it here. You're listening to Sports at Nightly alongside Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. We'll be back right after this.
From the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I'm journalism student Grace Fitzgibbon with Campus News. On May 7th and 8th, Nebraska celebrated its largest May graduating class in university history. 3,594 degrees were awarded to Nebraska graduates in ceremonies at Pinnacle Bank Arena and Memorial Stadium. Along with receiving their diplomas, graduates also heard inspiring speeches from notable Nebraskans, including legendary coach Tom Osborne.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest? Get a ride. A DUI costs more than you think.
Brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Stadium seats may have been replaced with recliners. Tailgates outside the stadium may have been swapped for the ones in the backyard, and thousands of screaming fans have been replaced by one screaming baby. The only thing that hasn't changed is us, watching the game together.
It's game time, baby.
Show off your Husker team spirit during your next virtual watch party. Visit Cox.com/Huskers to take a selfie with Herbie. And don't forget to share. Watch together, cheer together, take a selfie together, even if you're not actually together. Cox, bringing us closer.
As the official bank of Husker Nation, FNBO invites you to take the game with you with the free Husker Visa debit card. Tied to your checking account, the Husker Visa debit card allows fans to show their Husker pride all year long. Get your free Husker Visa debit card today at any FNBO branch or visit fnbo.com/Huskers. FNBO, the official bank of Husker Nation. Member FDIC.
Back to Adventures in Technology. Oh no! Our IT hero is caught in the jagged jaws of ransomware attacks and phishing scams.
Help!
Wait! It's Marco's Network Security Solutions to the rescue with life-saving ways to detect hungry cybervillains and stop them cold in their tracks. With Marco's Network Security Solutions, our IT hero lives to surf another day. For more successful network security adventures, go to marconet.com.
Because Ford trucks and SUVs are built to help you every day, you made Ford America's best-selling brand. And now you can get great offers on the entire Ford lineup. Come see how at your local Ford store, based on 2019 calendar year total sales. There's a Ford built for everyone, whether it's the latest driver assist technologies, room to fit the whole family, or the power you need on the job site. Ford has you covered. Head to your Midwest Ford dealers today to find great deals on the right vehicle for you.
So, when do you think you'll be done with our kitchen renovation?
Well, ma'am, the Italian marble countertops will take a while to get in.
No problem. In the meantime, you can start on the spiral staircase.
What?
If you win Mega Millions from the Nebraska Lottery with a jackpot that starts in the millions in drawings Tuesdays and Fridays, you can afford to go a little mega.
So you want us to build a spiral staircase?
Well, how else are we supposed to get up to the helipad? Oh, good. My husband's home.
Top prize odds 1 in 302 million.
Still waiting for your stimulus check? Don't wait for the government. Get the SOS stimulus package right now. For a limited time, get $2,000 off a qualifying York system. York products are all proudly made in the USA. Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company. Get you and the loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
Welcome back to Sports Nightly on this Monday evening alongside Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. We got a couple more texts to read to you. We posed the question, which former Nebraska Husker from the Johnny Rodgers era would you like to bring back to play on this current football team? We got a text that Jeff Kinney.
Sure. Yeah, good call.
Yep.
Yep.
And then also had a question about NIL, the deal with Runza. Is there a limit on how much they can get, like a football player, and then let's say a certain amount on a sale on a jersey? Right now in the laws, there's not a specific set of, hey, this is how much you can earn, this is how much you cannot earn, but all of this will be tracked and turned in. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to have to be regulated where you're not just throwing out money to, like, you know, back like it was back in the, 70s and 80s,
All of a sudden,
just
I'm
throwing
thinking,
money at people.
I should have gotten an accounting degree. You know, maybe I should have gone into accounting and actuary or something like that to help these guys along.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I do think absolutely there's not like a set limit, like, but, you know, depending on the company and what you're getting out of this deal, there will be limits as to tracked on the market value on what that might be.
Yeah, you get the sense that maybe that they continue to turn the page on the rule book, and we're going to write this as we go, and we're going to try and stay ahead of the game here.
Yeah, you got to think at some point there's going to have to be some national NCAA regulations, guidelines of what to follow.
NCAA regulation.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, more of a set of guidelines as to follow as to how it's going to be tracked. This is going to be a really hard deal. I'm glad I'm not in compliance.
But you know
I can
what?
tell you that.
Again, I know that we are talking Nebraska, and this is a Nebraska Husker show and all that. Nebraska has been at the forefront of this. There's going to be a lot of arrows, and there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, and there's going to be a lot of attention on how Nebraska is doing it. And it's been that way, Jessica, for a long time. Strength and conditioning. How's Nebraska doing it? Diet and nutrition and training table. Dave Ellis. Boyd Epley with strength and conditioning. Boyd Epley. Life skills. Keith Zimmer and Dennis LeBlanc. Nebraska, for so many decades now, has always kind of been thinking, what do we need to do for the student athlete? And I don't, again, I know I'm looking through scarlet and cream colored glasses, but as somebody who's been in the sports game for over, 3 decades, as you said, you look at it and go, Nebraska has been trying to figure out what do we need to do. And then everybody seems to figure out what is Nebraska doing. And then they kind of follow along. So Nebraska's going to hit the potholes. Nebraska's going to have a couple of flat tires. But Nebraska's going to be the one that is leading the way once again. And it really is,
They're also going to be the ones that have a AAA right there on standby to help them fix, because, I mean, they are prepared for all of this, right?
I mean, it really is remarkable in that regard. Husker Vision, you know, Nebraska was the first to put big screens in a college football stadium and have it in stadium production facility. It's really a lot for Nebraska fans and Nebraska people to be proud of.
Well, and for those that maybe missed it, because I do want to hit on this, and we will talk MLB draft, but Lexi's son, one of those athletes that's going to have a tremendous benefit from this deal moving forward, and she's got a really good head on her shoulders about how she's approaching this, and she talked about that, about, you know, she has friends in other places that they've been talking about what Nebraska's been doing, and, you know, she said that she doesn't think there is a place that has prepared the athletes quite like Nebraska has. So wanted to give you guys a chance to hear this out, because it is really impressive just how Lexi's son is approaching the NIL deal now underway starting July 1st.
And I can't believe it's actually here. I feel like it doesn't really feel real. But yeah, I'm excited to see the opportunities that come and what goes from here.
How much did, you know, the potential of this, you know, getting underway happening this year play into you wanting to come back for another year with the Huskers?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a factor. I wouldn't say it was the leading factor, but it definitely was a factor, and just being able to be a part of this happening for the first time and making history. And being here for the next 6 months and being a part of it definitely played an impact on everything. And once I decided, I definitely started diving into what I could do and how I could kind of start this off.
You know, how long ago did you kind of realize this could happen? I mean, we've been talking about it for maybe a year. Did you know a year out?
Yes. I remember about a year ago, I was getting interviewed. I don't remember by who, but they're talking about, I wasn't actually supposed to be here, obviously, because of COVID and everything. But they're like, wow, how do you feel about all the other girls getting to benefit off of this? And I was like, wow, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. And here I am, benefiting from it. So it's pretty crazy how the tables have turned, and yeah, I get to be here for this.
We were talking before we came on the air about, you know, you're conscientious and want to go about this the right way, but not just for you, Nebraska. How have they kind of set you guys up to be prepared for this day here today?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think any other school has prepared their athletes the way that Nebraska has. I mean, I can't say, but with Open Doors being here, we've been meeting for weeks. Just kind of trying to gain more information and trying to learn and just like see how this is all going to go down. And I think that they've prepared us really well. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the Huskers do with it.
How much has this been talked about in the locker room? Not much, or a little bit?
Not much. I feel like because we didn't really know up until a few hours before it happened if it was really going to happen or not. So not much, but I think now that obviously it's real and it's happening, we'll obviously have to have lots of conversations about it.
Your family has to be, I'm sure, involved in this too, right?
Yeah, they definitely are very involved. I'm very lucky to have their support and everything.
How do you go about, you know, there might be athletes like you, you know, athletes that might not have as many deals, but when you're going through this and you got offers and you're kind of trying to figure out what brands you want to be associated with, how do you kind of go about figuring out what's best for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just figuring out, like, weighing the pros and cons and seeing what opportunities are out there, and then figuring out what brands you want to work with and what aligns with you and who you are as a person, and staying true to who you are. That's the biggest thing for me.
What's Lexi want to do when volleyball is done?
Great question.
What do you I mean, in 10 years, I mean, maybe your career goes longer than 10 years,
Yeah.
but what do you really want to do?
Yeah, I would say I'm interested in business, in marketing, in advertising, in social media stuff. I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm definitely open to exploring and seeing what my professional opportunities hold. Yeah.
So all of this is great training ground, right?
Oh, it is.
She can be a third co-host for us.
There you go.
Kick Lauren Cook to the side. I don't know how that goes over.
Okay, we could do 4.
I did want to ask you, because with social media, it can be such a, you know, it's so positive, but then there is some negative that comes along with that. And you have so many followers, but for maybe some young athletes coming up that are trying to build their following, trying to build their brand, but also not getting caught up in, some of the negative. How do you balance that and kind of continue to see the positive and get as many followers as you can?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, social media is and is going to continue to be big for a really long time. And I would just encourage people not to place their worth in those types of things. I think that obviously I'm very blessed to have a platform here at Nebraska. And it's my goal to use my platform for good and impact other people's lives. But I think just balancing it. I think not placing too much weight on that and making that be your worth and your everything. But I think just using it to help other people and have a positive impact.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well said. That being said, though, you have a ton of followers. You have teammates that have a ton of followers, but the Nebraska volleyball account is huge as well. And then you talk about the people in the stands. I mean, if you're a recruit or, a young woman looking at this, how much does that play into that that you're going to come here and be so supported in such a way?
For sure, yeah. I mean, that's going to be a big thing moving forward with recruiting that wasn't before. This is going to be something that's very significant for athletes coming to different schools, and Nebraska is literally going to be the hotspot for that, no matter what. If you're volleyball, if you're football, if you're any sport really, Nebraska is the place to be because Husker Nation is unreal.
You made a huge life decision a couple years ago when you transferred here.
I sure did.
Take me back through that process. That couldn't have been easy.
It was very hard. At the time, I think it was one of the hardest things that I had to figure out. Yeah, there are lots of different emotions, and I think for me it was very good because I was able to get a better understanding as to what I was looking for in a program and the things that I valued, just from a mature perspective rather than being so young going through the recruiting process. So there was definitely a lot of clarity the second time going around. And obviously I landed here, and I'm so happy that I did. So yeah.
Take us back to the conversation with Coach Cook when you told him you were coming.
Oh my gosh, wow. I haven't talked about that one in a long time. So he was at my house in San Diego for a home visit, and I was like, okay, I'm going to tell him, planning with my family before he came over. We wanted to do something special, but we didn't know what we wanted to do. So we're thinking, brainstorming, like, oh, corn. Oh, I think we have some corn in the fridge. We're like, oh, let's do something with that. So go get the corn in the fridge. Basically wrote on the top of the box, and it said something like, I know this is corny, but I can't wait to be a corn husker. And he opened it up, and he was surprised, and it was funny. It was all over social media.
Yeah, did you expect it to blow up the way that it did?
Not at all. Coach had previously told me, Husker Nation is unreal. You're not going to believe it, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, okay. And then when the second that I made the decision, I felt that. I felt that for sure.
Is he the same guy today that he was then? Or has he changed?
That's a good question. I think him becoming a grandpa has changed him a lot. And I don't know if he'd appreciate me saying that, but yeah, I think it has.
I think he'd appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just different, huh?
He's in love with that little child. I mean, that thing, that's the apple of his eye.
Seriously, she's so sweet.
Yeah, she is.
What's it felt like to get back in the gym after you guys, missed it last year?
Yeah, it's been different, especially with a lot of the new girls. It almost feels like it's a completely different team. So it's been great. It's been good.
I don't want you to speak for Lauren, but if you talk to her, how's she doing? Just give us an update on how is she.
Yeah, Lauren's doing great. Yeah, she's good. She's one of my best friends. She's doing great.
Good.
All is well with her.
Because that was tough. You were in the tournament. She's not full 100%. Might have made a difference. Probably would have made a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Not the best timing to have all of that happen, but she's doing well.
Yeah. Some pretty interesting newcomers to the program, aren't there?
Yes. 5 great ones. It's going to be awesome.
I was on the Big Red Blitz with Tyler Hildebrand, and he was talking about how the big theme for the summer is bringing the edge back, right? So how big has that kind of been into the workouts, wanting to bring that edge back to Husker volleyball?
Yeah, it's everything. I think for us, it's just realizing that it's not just during season, and it's not just when we're playing volleyball and playing games, but it starts now. In the 6 a.m. workouts, in our meetings with Brett and all of those things, like, it starts now. And I definitely think that last year we did lose that edge and we didn't have it, and that's what kind of held us back. But I think we're all bought in and we're all ready to go, and we all have been putting in the work. So I'm excited to see how we can show this edge this year.
56 days, I think, is we're out from your opener.
Wow.
You ready for that?
Ready or not?
You got to be excited to have fans back. And,
Oh my
the best atmosphere in the country, the sellout streak, to get them back in there.
Absolutely. That honestly was one of the major deciding factors for me, is being able to play in front of Husker Nation. I think we kind of felt like we missed out. I think they kind of felt like they missed out and they couldn't be there to support us like they always are. So I think just being able to get the opportunity and get a real senior season with them, because they're such a big part of our program. So I'm really excited about that.
Does it feel different now that you know for sure that this is going to be your last year, going into it this year?
Absolutely, yes. And I think just having a more better understanding, or being more certain about how this year is going to look. I feel like there was just so much uncertainty and unknowns with last season. It was just weird all around. And I think just knowing and having a better understanding as to how this is all going to play out it's very different.
Your Twitter handle, you have 2 eyes. Could you not just get straight, Lexi? Did you have to go? Somebody else have that already?
Someone had it.
Oh.
I know. I got to ask him.
That's crazy.
It is.
So I noticed that. I'm like, well, why'd she do that? I figured there had to be, that probably was already taken.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We got to go find that other Lexi son.
Yeah, seriously.
Take care of her.
We need to make some swaps here.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you mind? Excuse me.
What's your favorite sport to come to at Nebraska that's obviously not volleyball?
I would say basketball, men's basketball. My brother and my dad played basketball, and I've always been a men's basketball fan, and I don't know why. It's like my favorite sport to watch. I'm always like watching the NBA and college basketball, so I don't know. For me, it's basketball.
Are you a fan of the Suns?
Sure.
Would be fitting for you.
San Diego,
I know,
girl, you got to be
seriously.
one of the Lakers or Clippers, right?
Clippers. I was Clippers, but
Oh,
See, Jessica doesn't like the
yeah, I
Clippers,
don't like the
so-
Clippers.
I know. Kawhi Leonard?
I just cannot. We were just talking about this. Patrick Beverly, not a fan.
Yeah, I can
Reggie
see.
Jackson, not a fan. So
It's okay. It's okay. I forgive you.
Well, congratulations on all this. This is exciting for you.
Thank you.
This is going to be fun, I think.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah, and Husker fans cannot wait to see you and your teammates in a couple months.
Oh, we're excited to be back.
Good. Great. Thanks for coming in.
Yes, thanks for having me.
awesome conversation. I was really impressed with Lexi.
She is an impressive young woman, and she's one of my favorite Husker athletes of all time, and I've never been around her of all the hundreds I've been around in my career, but just watching her from afar and the way she has embraced becoming what it means to be a Husker, and what it means for the state to see those athletes who come in and embrace it, I think she's the epitome of all that, and I am so glad she's coming back to and having a chance to watch her play at the Devaney again.
Very well said. Okay, final break here on Sports Nightly. We're wrapping up the show next. You're listening to Sports Nightly alongside Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. Keep it here. Sorry about that. I am new to running this show. Obviously, I thought we had one more break, but that's at the end of the show. My bad. So we had mentioned the Major League Baseball draft a week from today. We'll know where some of these Huskers are going. Spencer Schwellenbach doing some research on that, looking like round number 24 overall, first rounder, but could pitcher or shortstop. Sounds like a lot of people leaning towards being a pitcher, but that'll be interesting. We hopefully are going to have him on the show coming up this week.
I think it's great that this thing doesn't happen during the College World Series anymore. I thought that was just awful, where they would draft him around the regionals, the super regionals, or the CWS, and completely detract from the attention that those guys should be given to their teams. I think he is one of the most fascinating players that we saw during the college baseball season, and no doubt his stock rose. I would think that they would say, all right, we're going to see what you can do at short, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll put you on the mound. But, maybe he's got the golden arm, and maybe the golden ticket for him is to just go straight to becoming a professional pitcher.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of the people that were breaking it down was talking about that he only pitched one season here in Lincoln. Just a lot of unknown with what he can do. But, I mean, look how much he dominated. Of course, the two-way player of the year, the first All-American since 2005 for Nebraska baseball, did it all. It was interesting hearing Will Bolt talk about him and just, not only what he did and was asked to do and did it all wholeheartedly, but the way he helped the guys around him kind of buy into this new coaching staff, because a lot of that, the run that they went on and the Big Ten title was the culture of the baseball team, and Spencer Schwimmbach was a big part of that as a leader as well.
Yeah, and you can hope that it's so tough to replicate that year after year after year after year, and with him being such a part of such a great season and a great story. Sometimes you have a great season and it's not a great story. This was a great story put together by this Nebraska baseball team, and it would be great, just like we saw with Lexi's son. Okay, let's capitalize on all that you've been able to do and have one more season in the Huskers son. And for him, I think it would be great, just to see him one more time, to see them capitalize on the momentum and really firmly establish it. But he did what he was supposed to do, and he did a great job, and he's going to be rewarded for it.
And having a first rounder pays dividends in recruiting as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just anytime you can kind of tout that a little bit. But, yeah, we're in talks with him. Hopefully we'll get him on. But got a few Huskers with a shot to be drafted. But Coach Bolt really highlighting him, thinking probably for sure first rounder, you'd think, going into it. But with the option of, maybe a shortstop, maybe a pitcher. You gotta like that. You got a little bit of versatility in an athlete like that.
And you hope he goes to the right organization, because sometimes you can get drafted and they've got all these ideas that they like to use you, but if they don't have the right personnel in terms of minor league pitching coaches and instructors, the right ideas at the major league level for you, unfortunately, talents and bodies can get wasted and they don't fulfill their ultimate promise. So you hope that he gets into a minor league system where, all right, you're going to be a pitcher, we're going to get the best coaching, and we're going to develop you that way and move you along in the best way we think. But sometimes it's like, all right, we got this guy, let's pay him some money and see what he can do, And I for him and for any athlete, you hope that he get in the right situation.
Final couple minutes here on the show tonight. We got a fun couple of weeks lined up for Husker fans if you're listening. But coming up tomorrow, great guest. Mark Manning, head wrestling coach, going to be here with us at 6:25.
And the light bulb for us kind of went on when we saw him tweet earlier today that Jordan Burroughs is having his going away party at the rail yard on, the 7th, on Wednesday night at 7 or 8 o'clock downtown Lincoln. An opportunity to see one of the great wrestlers of all time in American history, and somebody who's meant so much to the athletic department in Nebraska and the wrestling program. He'll be heading off to Philadelphia to kind of grow the sport of wrestling in his home area of Camden, New Jersey, and so to have Mark come on and talk about Jordan and the future of Nebraska wrestling, which is very good. That'll be great.
Yeah, and if you have questions, get them in now. We will be checking the hotline, 402-413-2400. Again, that's the Sports Nightly Hotline, brought to you by Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. Get those questions in for Mark Manning coming up at 6:25, and we'll have some football interviews lined up for you. Bill, we appreciate you being here with us.
I love being here. This is so much fun to be able to talk Huskers with people. You don't exactly get to do this a lot out in Colorado. So for me, this is cathartic.
All right, so he's Bill Dolman. I'm Jessica Coody. Thank you guys so much for listening, and make sure you tune in. Coming up tomorrow, Tuesday night, Sports Nightly, 6 to 8. And we appreciate Mike Elliott, our producer, behind the booth as well. So appreciate all you guys listening, and again, hope you had a happy 4th of July, and we'll get back to work tomorrow.
Very good.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Do you want your date to wait for your interlock device to let you drive? Your kids to ask why you have an ankle bracelet? Or your boss to see your criminal history? Do you want to miss important life events because of house arrest?